welcome to your weekly reminder that only dead fish go with the flow. Today I am joined again by Sophie Capewell, team sprint cyclist, which I think is the right terminology to use. Fantastic. She's nodding at me. This is brilliant. So this podcast is a little bit overdue because we had some technical issues last time, and I'm really, really hoping that I managed to get it right this time. So, without further ado, welcome Sophie Capewell, Olympic champion, and world record holder. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me again.
You're so welcome.
It's great to be back.
So, last time me and Sophie did this, she actually came down for Henley Royal Regatta, and we showed her all the rowing stuff, made her bang on a bin to like cheer people out, and really showed her the glamorous, maybe not so glamorous side of rowing. We also bundled her along with my family for the day to a picnic. I'm not sure if she was sort of held captive or not, but I think it was a good experience.
Yeah, definitely. It was really nice to come down. Like, cycling is quite an insular sport, so we don't always get to venture out and see like other sports as much or like mingle with other sports. So it's nice when we get that opportunity. And I really liked the boating, like that whole walking out through that corridor of noise. I think we need to somehow introduce that in track cycling. Yeah, there's some sort of ceremonial part of it. I don't know. You just feel really special, don't you? So
It was crazy because the day that he came on the Saturday was semi-finals day, so that was quite good. But on the Sunday was all the finals, and they had like all the schoolboys from the local colleges were like singing rugby chants and stuff before anyone had boated, and there had to be like an announcement over the speaker being like, please can you disperse from boat bay whatever, and like stop blocking everything. So that was wild. Anyway, we're going into cycling. So I've given you your brilliant introduction. Like, you don't really need an introduction, but I've listed a few of your achievements. You have a extensive cycling record. Could you name and explain your sport?
Yeah, so in the most simple terms, we ride around in a circle, only turning left. The way we do that is very different depending on what squad we're in and what events we do. But I'm a sprint cyclist, so I have four events that we take part in: the team sprint, the match sprint, the keirin, and now the kilometer time trial. The team sprint is 3 laps, and there's three riders, and we each do 1 lap each on the front. So the poor person at the back has to do the 3 whole laps, but it's the straw that they draw, I guess. And basically, the goal is to finish as quick as you can as a team. Obviously, the first person does 1 lap and gets out the way. I do the second lap and get out the way, and usually it's Emma behind me, and she's the one who finishes it off and gets the time. But it's that simple: 3 laps as fast as you can. Then we have the match sprint, which is we get seeded from a qualifying 200-meter time trial, and then again it's 3 laps, and it's first over the line wins.
Magic number.
But with the sprint, it's more because it's 1v1, so it's very tactical, very cat and mouse. It's not necessarily straight off from the gun, go as fast as you can. You're trying to outwit your opponent and then get the jump on them, hopefully, and beat them by the end of the 3 laps. The keirin's actually 6 laps, but the first 3 laps there's a little motorbike guy riding around getting you up to 50 kilometers an hour.
When we talked
Um,
about this last time, I was like, I would be the guy on the motorbike, and I would definitely have like a little leopard print helmet or something. Like, I'm not a good cyclist, but I love watching the track cycling. I never know what's going on, but I am I am not a good cyclist myself.
I think that should be a thing. We should make Derny riders a little bit more trendy. They
I
should make
could
a statement.
I could definitely make that a bit more bougie, for sure.
So he leads us out for 3 laps and gets us up to 50 kilometers an hour. And there's usually 6 riders behind, although it can vary a little bit depending on like the heat structures and stuff. And then he pulls off the track, and then again, it's 3 laps from that point, and the rest of us all like battle it out. That one's a bit more faster and a bit more like you need your elbows out and you need to fight a bit for that one. And then the last one is a kilometer time trial, which is 4 laps, which breaks the mold. But
Right
actually,
now.
I know, this is the first year that women are doing the kilometer. For us, it's always been a 500-meter time trial, and the men have done the kilometer time trial. Whereas this year, it's full, all events the same distance, all events are the same structure as the men's, which is great. Like, it is great, but I'm going to really miss that 500-meter time trial.
Yeah, this is
Um,
this is what we talked about last time, and you're like, I've got to sneak this in at the end. You're like, my controversial opinion. Let's do the 500 meters. Let's all do 500 meters instead of a kilometer.
Yeah, so the kilometer takes about a minute. It's that equivalent of the 400 meters in running. It's that like horrible like sprint but not sprint, like kind of middle of the road like lactic hell, that you just see everyone dying on the floor afterwards. And it is a great event. I just think it's also a shame though that we're losing the 500, because that's always been the women's event, and it's always been the only event that has been ours, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah.
And it would have just been interesting to see what would have happened if we would have had men do a 500-meter time trial, because it's a lot different to the kilometer. Obviously, it's half the distance. But it's less fatiguing in the sense of if you do it in the middle of a competition, you're not kind of written off for the rest of the day or even the next day afterwards. And also you can have we'll probably have a lot more people enter it, but you also might kind of see it lend itself, because it kind of is within the 3 lap boundary.
Yeah.
So the training isn't too dissimilar, and it might actually complement it, and it just be really exciting, I think, because as much as everyone loves watching track cycling, watching a lot of heats of time trials isn't always the most exciting. So like the shorter the time trial, I guess the more exciting it might be. But it would just be interesting to see what it would be if we kind of flipped Una reversed it, if you will, and got the men to see what they would do in our distance.
Yeah. That's the thing. We've all got like TikTok attention spans now, and we're like, make it faster, make it faster.
Yeah, faster, shorter, sharper, more thrilling. It's terrible, really, isn't it?
We're all like, oh, you've lost my attention. But well, actually not with track cycling, because I'm just still there sat trying to work out what the hell's going on.
Oh, I
But now
know.
I
At
know.
least with the sprinters, like the Madison is a whole new ball game, and that's just people everywhere all the time.
At least I know the magic number is 3.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. I'm excited to watch more now. Could you tell us a little bit about your training regime, the life of the cyclist? What does that look like for you?
So, as sprint cyclists, we're all based up in Manchester, and we all train together. We have we're at the National Cycling Centre, and like our gym's there, the track's there, like everything we need is there. We're kind of quite spoiled. But we have training that either consists of like a double day, or we have a single day, and then we have like our aerobic training. So, for instance, yesterday I had a gym session 9 till 11, or I hope it's 9 till 11, but sometimes we run over. We chat a little bit too much in the gym. And then we have a track session 2 till 5. So it's kind of 9 till 5, the structure for us. And that might be twice a week. That could be 3 times a week to have gym then track days. Other days could be just a track session, which is normally in the afternoon. Or we'll have a double day of track, which that they're quite full on. And they don't happen that often. Only when we have to prep for races, because obviously we race all day. So there's got to be a time where we practice that. And then on our other days, we either have rest days, or we'll have some sort of aerobic or anaerobic sessions. My least favorite session in the entire world, we do VO2 sessions on a turbo trainer, which just the bane of my existence. I hate them with so much. It's awful. But my coach calls them cauliflower sessions, because one of my teammates has to do. We all have a session we don't like, and she hates cauliflower. So that's where it kind of came
Oh,
from.
that's kind of cute in like a even though you hate it, it's kind of a cute saying like a cauliflower session.
Yeah, yeah. So, we do them, we get them done. It's fine. They are good for us. I think I hate it because my physiology. The good thing about track cycling in general is you kind of you don't really necessarily have one specific kind of body type that excels in track cycling. You have a kind of mixed range of people who would probably thrive. So you could be someone who's really short and sharp and punchy, but that doesn't mean you're tall or short. Like it just depends on how your muscles are built, kind of thing. Or you can have someone who's a little bit more of they're still obviously very powerful, but they produce it over a longer period of time and less of a absolute like peak spike. I sit on the other end of the spectrum. I'm like short and sharp. So anything like VO2, like I'm really good for the first few, and then I just like hating my life. There's too much lactic buildup.
See, I always used to be a bit of a diesel engine. Like the longer the piece, the more likely I would do a better job of it. The shorter the piece, it was like embarrassing. I'm like, don't look. Don't look at the result because
It's
it's
how
not
quick you spend your money, isn't it? Do you spend it hard and fast, or do you spend it a little bit like drip it out over a long period of time?
yeah, the longer the piece, the better. I can like, almost warm up mentally before that work starts to get like really, really serious. Like we would do like, a 30-minute test, I imagine would not feature too highly on your
We do them, and they're fine, but that's my limit.
that is the limit. That is the limit. That is fair
Yeah,
enough.
that's about 500-meter time trial. So this is why I love it so much.
That's fair. So I've actually also been on your Instagram because I'm a stalker, and you are lifting some serious tin, like some serious weights in that gym.
Yeah, so gym is a massive part of our programs. And because sprint cycling is kind of about power, and power's torque or pure force times the cadence that we pedal at. So that force element is huge for us, and it's almost like a little bit of a cheat sheet, I guess, gym. Whereas if you can get really strong, the capability you've got to put that through the pedals kind of goes through the roof. So yeah, gym has been a big part of my life for a long time, and I'm the kind of person, fortunately, that I like walk into a gym and I feel like I put muscle on the instant that I see that bar. I'm very fortunate in that sense. Not everyone has that. There's benefits to it all over the place. But yeah, squat numbers are something that we kind of chase a little bit. And yeah, I currently hold the squad record, which I'm quite proud of. I mean,
Go
it was
on.
6 years ago I hit it, but
What is it? Go and tell the world. The 200 followers that I have on Instagram, this podcast, the world.
so my PB is 160 kilograms. Yeah, but I did that quite a while ago. I think it was, I want to say 2019, 2020. We don't always go for like 1 RMs in the gym. And I actually had a few injuries that kind of like made sure I didn't do that. But yeah, we're kind of like a golden standard for a lot of female sprinters is like double body weight. So if you're there or thereabouts, like you're pretty strong. So that's what we're there, and I'm getting chased down by some of the younger girls at the minute, so I think I need to start to see if I can get that a bit higher.
Oh my God, that's mental. Could you tell me about the best and the worst parts of this wonderful sport then?
The best parts are that you get to go really fast, and it's a massive, like, you get an adrenaline rush a lot of the time, and it's a lot of fun. Like, ultimately, it's a lot of fun, which I think you struggle to do a lot of the training that we do. We're kind of a bit like masochists. Like, you have to go through a lot of pain in this training that we do. So if it isn't fun for you, probably not the right sport for you. Um, the worst part, the pain.
Yeah, the lactic.
Yeah, I think you block it out a lot of the time, um, or I do, um, and you have to kind of really put yourself into that box a lot, like a lot in training. It's not something that's like only race specific, and you only really feel good once, 1 week a year maybe at best, which is not nice. in terms of like, of course you want to feel fast, and of course you want to go fast, and of course you want to feel good. And it is very individual, and that's kind of how our season's laid out at the minute for us, only to be excelling well 1 week of the year. I mean, you obviously get hints of it as you get closer and closer, but to get to that point, you have to dig really deep. And I'm probably a bit biased at the minute because we're in year 1 of Olympic cycle, so it's all physical prep work. It's all really hard work, which like you do enjoy, but you have to kind of sit in that pain for a while. And yeah, that's not the most fun.
The other thing that I thought of as I was falling asleep last night is a mutual thing that rowing and cycling share is our outfits for racing.
Lycra.
Very, very unflattering lycra most of
Yes. You have to get used to basically having skin tight clothing on from a very young age.
it's a it's a rite of passage. And then once you get used to it, you're like, what do you mean? What do you mean you don't like my lycra? I worked really hard for this camel toe.
Oh yeah, but we have chamois.
Oh
Like we
yeah,
have a
you've
big pad
got,
that sits there as well, so
got
it's just really
sponges.
unflattering. Yeah, yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Before we go into your sporting ick, now we've just talked very briefly about camel toes. Um, I was just,
That probably, yeah, I think everyone can agree that's one.
yeah, that is so fair. But so before we delve massively into that and camel toes any further, I just wanted to go wholesome direction of your family who are very, very deeply rooted in cycling, if that's okay. Um, So your parents met through cycling, and I know you've dedicated some of your wins to your dad, which is like so special. And Emily, who we also met when she came down to Henley with you, your sister, sort of mentioned that she did a bit of cycling as well. So there's like so much cycling. I mean, that family would be my idea of hell because I hate cycling, but like you guys are such lovely people, but I
Yeah, I
going on a
don't know how. No, I'm kidding.
going on a bike ride at like a very young age in a big family of cyclists, like I guess that must just be like such a normal thing for you.
Yeah, I think kind of got lucky in a sense. So my dad actually went to the Paralympic Games in Atlanta and Sydney for track cycling. Um, he had a motorbike accident when he was around 21. I'm going to probably get told off by my family for getting that wrong, but I think I'm right there. And he ripped the nerves out of his spinal cord for his right arm, so completely lost the use of his whole arm. And he'd always played a lot of sport growing up, and he was like sat on a sofa moping, obviously very sad about like the fact that he's lost the use of his arm. And my grandpa went up to him and he's like, right, you've got a choice. You can sit here and mope and do nothing for the rest of your life, or you can go and figure out what you can do. And like just left him there. And my dad was like,
Inspiration.
okay. So then he tried to get back involved in a lot of the sport that he played before he had his accident. So he loved playing hockey. So he would go and play hockey, and they put him in goal, and he just play with one arm with all the able-bodied people on the pitch and stuff, and still doing a great job. And like tried out a load of other sports, and then he kind of like got on his bike and figured out how to ride his bike and stuff, and kind of was like, yeah, this'll do kind of thing. And kind of sort of helped pave the way of a little bit for like Paralympic sport system that we've kind of in the cycling world got now. Because there weren't really like clubs that you could join or anything like that. Like the way in is kind of you just force your way in at that point. And then managed to work his way up to go to Atlanta and Sydney. And then in Sydney, like I think I was like 2, my sister was 3.
I've seen
And
like the most adorable photos of you all in like bucket hats and stuff.
yeah, bucket
Support.
hats and like Union Jacks on our cheeks.
Oh,
I think I was still blonde then, like I was very young. And that was his last Paralympics, and we remember it a little bit. But when he finished like cycling and retired from that side of things, he used to coach at our local cycling club. I think me and my sister would like play in the field next to where they were coaching. And we were like, that looks way more fun than playing in the field. So we ended up getting on bikes, and growing up they put us in like all sports. Like we used to swim, like ran for schools, played a bit of hockey, like tennis, like anything. We were the ones that were like, yeah, we'll come, we'll do it. And like I swam competitively until I was like 14 and stuff, but like cycling always was like, it must be like something in the family, but like that was my favorite. As were my sisters, but I managed to find a lot of success then at quite a young age in sprint cycling specifically. Um, I was a kind of rider who, if I got to the end of the race, I'd win the sprint, but it was getting to the end of the race that was the hard bit for me. Or like we have a category like that's called cyclocross, which is basically you racing on mud. And everyone would like glide across the top of the mud, and I would like sink in and plow through it. Like I think I was always destined to go down this one avenue. But my mum still cycles. She races masters, and like you say, we used to on a weekend there was the club run, which is like a big club ride to a coffee shop. And where we'd have like toasted tea cakes or like big bacon sandwiches. So yeah, that was like our weekends were either racing or going on the club run to get a nice like sausage sandwich or something.
I love that. That is so, so wholesome. I was going to say another thing before I went back off my tangent on camel toes and ruined your lovely story. So your mum is like really involved in cycling. Do you think having like that female role model so readily available really helped you in your sporting career, sporting pursuits? Like she was, because she was a cyclist before you guys existed as well. I'm not sure if that's the right phrase, but yeah, obviously mums were people before they have their children. To have like your mum doing sport, did that really sort of help you guys in any way?
Yeah, I think so. I think I sat in a really unique position growing up that I had a lot of really positive female role models within sport. Obviously, I saw my mum cycling all the time. She even like, as I said, she does masters race and she'd even go and race and stuff. So seeing someone doing kind of the same sport that I do, same kind of body type ish to me, like that was quite good on its own without the other extra bits that kind of come around it. And also like she could obviously help and be like, this is what you should do here and things like that and like tips and stuff. But she was also, so obviously we sit on a saddle, and growing up we didn't really have female specific saddles. They weren't like that developed at the time. Like you just sit on a saddle and hope for the best.
Yeah.
And a lot of the young girls of maybe not quite my age, but my sister's age, she's like a couple of age categories above me, like have issues like saddle issues, like discomfort and stuff like that. So my mum was like, and a lot of the coaches are men. Cycling historically has been a very white, middle-aged, middle-class, male-dominated sport. So she'd then go and help and try and have the conversations saying, this isn't normal, we can try different saddles and stuff like that. So that was also amazing for me and my sister in the sport, because she didn't have all the answers, but obviously having someone else who understands and like can talk to you about that side of things is really important as well.
Talk and like
Um,
open the conversation. We have not similar to we don't sit on a saddle, we sit on a seat. And there are different seats for different hips. And also we get very, very sweaty and the lycras that we wear is very, very thin. So we can get something that we affectionately have coined swamp crotch, where you get like loads of bad bum blisters and like there's lots of like openness basically on your ass crack or on your like under bum. And it's sort of, you need like lots of salt water and pseudo-cream to fix that.
yeah, we have saddle sores,
Saddle.
similar vein.
Well, now you can use the term swamp crotch if you
Swamp
like.
crotch, yeah. I'll tell the team later when I'm at the track and see what they think of that one.
They're like, glamorous.
Mm.
But yeah,
Going back to the having my mum in cycling. Yeah, that was great. And also my dad used to coach some of the like junior girls around the area. And there was a pair of sisters called Laura and Sarah, who were obviously quite a bit older than me and my sister. But we would call them, like, they coined this, they told us this, like I don't think we actually had a choice, but they were our bigger me's and we were their mini me's.
oh,
And they were like amazing role models for us growing up. They were competitive in cycling. They were very athletic. They were cyclists. They had like the strong quads, and they were the body types that we were trying to aiming to get to and things like that. And having them as role models was massive for us, because obviously nowadays in social media and all of that side of things, and you have a very one, there's kind of one type of body type for women to look up to, that's seen as desirable in inverted commas, when in reality that's not necessarily what we should have in our like kind of society. I think it was so nice to have people to look up to who were really excited about sport, really excited about performance, cycling. Um, they were doing it for the love of the sport, not to look a certain way. Their body was a function in terms of like it looked that way because that's what made them great at what they did, which was
Yeah.
really cool. So we grew up with that. I never had the other side of pressure because I was like, well, I want to look like Sarah. She's my bigger me. Our favorite color's pink, so we're gonna be the same.
Oh, I love that. That
Yeah.
that is brilliant. My family is sporty or is sportier now, but growing up, my mum didn't do a lot of sport, but she was very encouraging of me doing sport. So one of my very, very core memories is I used to do a lot of cross country as like at primary school, cross country running, and she would take me for a run, and that would look like me running alongside the car while she like pretended to jog while she was
Oh,
driving.
I love that.
But she's like massively into like her gym and all of those sorts of things now. But it's just such a fond memory of her sort of being encouraging. But it's just her in the car and she's pretending to jog along by the steering wheel. And I'm like running alongside the car, like, Mum, I don't want to do this anymore.
But I think
Yeah.
that's so important. Like, I think that template, you almost imprint on the kids at such a young age of like which avenue they kind of go down. By the
Yeah.
time you get to high school, you've got the sporty kids and you've got the ones who aren't interested at all, especially in girls. It's kind of a massive divide. And I think that comes from like how encouraging or how much can you like try and help at that young age to be like, no, sport's good. Like this is a lot of fun. Like you can get the most out of yourself, and kind of set that template really early on.
Yes, absolutely. I couldn't agree more on that one. Me and Sophie are professional yappers, so there might be a few quick cuts onto the next section. So, could you tell me about your sporting ick?
Yes, there's quite a lot in track cycling, I have to be honest. And there's a big debate that goes on. This is a very slightly off topic, but like ankle socks versus not like longer socks is a big thing
Oh,
in cycling. And some people are like, oh, ankle socks are such an ick. I wear ankle socks sometimes, so like, oops. It's a very sprinter thing. Like people used to go no socks, which I don't like that. I think that's a step too far, too sweaty, too horrible. But actually, going a little bit back to mine, I think my sporting ick is when someone has all the gear. We have a saying, it's like all the gear, no idea. They turn up with everything like the fanciest bike, really nice kit, which I'm all for. If you want to treat yourself and get yourself some nice kit, like go for it. But then like they can't change a puncture, or they don't know how to ride in the group, or they don't have the skills that kind of would have been suggested by the kit that they're riding. So like we have like fancy race wheels, they can't control the bike with the wheels in and things like that. It's a kind of a big no-no. Like the kit should kind of grow with you, I think. It's almost like you're trying to run before you can walk.
yeah, absolutely. I think you said that phrase last time where it was the kit should grow with you rather than sort of like biting off a bit more than you can chew. And we have it a little bit in rowing as well. You like rock up to a race and somebody's got like this amazing top spec boat and you're like, oh, hang on a minute, they're going to be, a little bit fast. And then you do the race and that's not the case at all. And, I think you should like, enjoy it and everything and do what you want. But definitely with sports kit, like you're only as fast as yourself and the kit's not going to make you that much faster.
Yeah, especially now. Like, so in cycling, we used to have a massive competitive advantage, like in Britain, because we were known for our amazing bikes, and we still have really amazing bikes. If you look at my track bike, it looks really weird. I've got really wide forks at the front. The back sticks out really wide. It looks a bit like an alien bike. Um, and like the kit is important, but I feel like we've got to a point where people care more about the kit than the other bits. It's
Mm.
almost like the bike's going to make me fast, so I'm just going to get on it and just like hope for the best. When in reality, like that's like the cherry on the cake. That's you get to that point, you're one of the best in the world. You get on this amazing bike that the best bit about the bike that we've got is we can kind of make it to fit us best. It's a way we can set ourselves up on it and make it so we can get the most out of ourselves because we're riding the bike, not the fact that the bike's going to make us fast. And I think that gets lost a lot in track cycling at the minute because the research and innovation side has gone through the roof in the last few years. Like it's a bit like Formula One in terms of like the amount of like engineering and stuff that's gone into it. It's gone wild. But in reality, like the people who are pedaling the bike, that's what's going to make you the best in the world. Ultimately, the bike's not going to win you a. It might help. It might make you that tiny bit faster. And if the two people are exactly the same performance wise, it might give you the edge. But it's not going to make you that world champion. You've got to do that yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. In rowing, we have a lot of like very high techie, like, because it's all like levers and physics and things that I don't always understand. But we had like screens and in the boat, so it would show you like your wattage output, and it was like wired to the gate, and like it was all very, very complicated. I remember sort of being in the stroke seat quite a few races and looking down, and there were like like three different readers that had four different readings about four different things on each one, and it was sort of like being in a fighter pilot cockpit. There was just so much information, and I got to the point when I was racing that I was like, actually, I would like unplug my screen, or not unplug my screen, but I would turn it around so that I couldn't see it. So it still collect the data for the coaches, but I'd just be like, this is so overwhelming to sort of like do race tactics and have all of this information coming in. So I'm the biomechanics, the knowledge, the Formula One stuff. I've seen it, but in a very different sort of way. Um, what are we dying on the hill about this week?
As we spoke a little bit about last week, there was a few hills that we could have died on.
The mountain race.
um, but I think that there's what's best to phrase it? I think I said even sprinters need to eat carbs. I think we spoke a bit about body image, and I think that's a massive component for especially women going into power sports, and obviously track sprint cycling is a power sport. But there's also a narrative that's kind of, I think, misunderstood maybe in terms of like how much energy you need to do all the training and all the racing in sprint cycling. There was a point where there was a conversations going around that we didn't really need carbs. Um, which now, obviously, I now know, I know how important carbs are. But when at the time, I think I was around 18, 17, and I was like, okay, I don't need to eat that many carbs. I won't eat that many carbs. And I used to cry in gym sessions, and I was like, why am I so like tired all the time, and why am I so sad? And then I called it my carb depression because I hadn't eaten enough carbs to get me through all my sessions, and everyone just thought I was really sad in the gym all the time and hated the gym, and I was like, I just don't know what's going on. Yeah, I just hadn't I was just empty.
Just like, I
um
am so hungry right now.
yeah, basically. And
Somebody
I was like, I
got
can't eat any more protein. All I'm eating is protein, and I don't like it anymore. So that was a big learning curve for me, and it's something I'm still kind of learning now. I went through a block, my last training block. I
Mm.
didn't realize I was still under fueling, and that wasn't me being silly and like not eating enough, but like the block, we were in a volume block, so that's six training sessions, like 6 training days a week. So we had one rest day, which for us, like, rest is massive because our nervous system is obviously taxed a lot in terms of getting maximal efforts out. So recovery is really important for us. So when we go into like high volume blocks, like we've got to be like quite careful. And even then I was under fueling. I didn't even know that I was under fueling because I was eating a lot. And it was only when I got to the end of the block and I was like dropping off and I was like really tired. I can't figure out, I'm not recovering. And it's like, oh yeah, you're not eating enough. Like, get some more carbs in. I think that narrative kind of like is kind of hidden. And I think undervalued in terms of like that importance of making sure you're eating enough is huge. Because obviously you think sprint, you think, oh, you're using your nervous system, it's ATP, it's that fast twitch, like it's not necessarily the carb that you fuel as if you're an endurance rider going on a massive 4-hour road ride or something like that. But in reality, glycogen is our main source of fuel, and we're burning that constantly throughout our training sessions because of the intensity being so high. So yeah, sprinters really need carbs.
I always found as well when I did like cycling in terms of rowing training. So I never did any sort of sprint work necessarily, but the bike always used to make me so hungry. Like rowing would make me hungry, but if I did a bike and I didn't have fuel during the bike, I would finish it and then I would feel sick with hunger, or it was I just knew as soon as I sat on a bike, I was going to get so freaking hungry. So I would go on with like a Rego protein shake or something like that that had carbs and protein in. And we would be on the bikes for like 90 minutes to 2 hours because rowing is a bit more of an endurance sport. But I would not dread the bike, but I just knew whatever I did on it would make me absolutely ravenous.
I think it's that constant motion element as well. Like a lot of sports are constant motion, but it's the every but you're pedaling quite quick. It's not like a slow motion. Like the
Mhm.
cadence is quite high. And that plays into it. Like we do road rides and stuff. It's more in like our base training period. But I remember this year, like I took 2 months off after last season and came back and I was like, right, we're going back here, we're doing road rides. And I remember the first road ride, I was like, I only bought a banana. I only took one snack because normally, like, we don't go out for that long. And I wasn't really thinking. I got back and I was like, what can I eat? Where's all the food? Like, rabid in my
Go in the
cupboards.
cupboard.
That's why we
I
like coffee shop stops so much on as cyclists because snack top ups.
literally the only way you could get me out for a road bike ride is the fact that there might be a coffee shop,
Yeah.
like a fat croissant and a nice coffee.
Yeah.
Rowing, cycling, they sort of go hand in hand, awful outfits. Everyone's always hungry.
Yeah, pretty well described.
Yeah, everyone needs carbs. If it's not too personal, would you be happy to sort of talk through how you fuel throughout the day?
Yes. Um, it's fine. So if I go, so our hardest days probably are when we have gym and track. So like I'll get up and have usually porridge in the morning. Although recently smoothies have been making an entrance, which is basically porridge blended with some more fruit, obviously. But lots of oats, Greek yogurt, fruit, maybe some honey and peanut butter, depending on how big the day is kind of going to be. And I do like my toppings on my porridge, if I'm honest. That's the best part. And with that, I have a coffee, and then I make my way into training. Then we have roughly 2 hours in the gym, maybe a bit longer. Like we get in at 8:30 and do like 30 minutes warm up, and then we get going. So usually I'll snack in gym, probably a banana, something carb based. Then after gym, get the protein in. Sometimes I skip the protein and just have extra protein in my lunch because by the time I finished at 11, I need to eat before we get to track later. And sometimes I'm not a big fan of protein shakes, if I'm honest. I'm a more of a whole food kind of person.
Are you a
Um,
chocolate milk girl?
no, but I feel like I've missed this. Like everyone's like, oh yeah, just get down the chocolate milk. I was like, no one told me about this.
Have you not? Have you?
No.
Oh my God.
So I'm adding it to my shopping list this week.
Living under a rock.
Yeah, that is cycling. We do like kind of live on our own world. So I'm adding that to the list. But yeah, I'll have lunch, which is usually like eggs and a bagel. Sometimes like I make a little omelette and put it in a bagel and take it with me to the track because obviously we don't really we don't have time to come home in between sessions basically. Or if it's like a day that we can have a bit of a treat, I'll go into town and there's some nice coffee shops and I'll have lunch out, which is a bit of a treat, but sometimes it's needed for the morale. Um, then we will all actually go in to get a coffee as well. Like that's a good as a staple pre-track. It's a bit bougie that we go into Manchester to find a nice coffee shop, but
Yeah.
you don't need to do that. There are other other ways of getting the caffeine in.
Other coffee alternatives are available.
Yeah, yeah. I think we've got into quite a habit with the girls up in Manchester that coffee's massive in cycling, especially track cycling. So we've turned into snobs and we go into town to find a nice artisan coffee shop or whatever.
I think it's really nice though if you're in a training center all day that you leave it in between sessions to have this little treat, which is a coffee or a social period of time or whatever, and then you go back into it because when you're in that training environment all day, you're almost like watched all day, or there's always sort of some form of responsibility. Whereas if you go out to like your little coffee shop, you can just have a bit of a mental break and get your coffee and have a little like morale moment and then go back into the session. And I think it's like not to be underestimated. Like I used to find we call it like the crew room, where it's basically like all the rowing athletes for that club are like in one room having their break, and everyone's like talking, laughing, shouting, crying, like it's all going on in one room. And I used to find it like really emotionally exhausting. So I would always sneak out and find a coffee somewhere quiet as well.
Yeah, I think it's become quite a staple of like our day as well. Like you say, it breaks it up. It's
Mm.
actually nice as well. Like we're kind of a small team of like so up to six of us. So it's a little bit of bonding as well. Like it's nice to break out of the environment and not have to be like cycling, cycling, cycling. The only time we see each other is cycling. So yeah, that's a nice part of our day. I actually really look forward to that bit as well because usually gym's really hard. So we're like, let's get out of here. And then we have track in the afternoon, so like warm up can start from like one, half one. So we try and eat like 2 hours before that. And then there'll be another carby snack before the session. Banana squares bars are a squad staple. They're our favorite. Or like anything, just anything really carby. Get into the session, have emergency snacks if we need them. Sometimes we have like bags of sweets that are handed around to get that like really instant, quick, like sugar carb fix. Finish the session and it's protein, either a shake or like a yogurt or something. And something carby. So like I like rice pudding, because it's really easy to eat and quick. It's also quite filling because I can have that before I drive home. And then it's dinner. That could be anything. I don't know what I'm in a bit of a slump at the minute with my dinner. So recommendations are appreciated. I think last night I had like burger, salad, like a naked burger and salad because I didn't have any burger buns. This is how bad it's got. And then I had like pasta on the side. It was such a horrible mix of food. But normally it's a little bit more put together, but I just needed to get all of the like veg in, protein in, carbs in. And then we have a pre-bed snack as well, which is usually for me more yogurt. I feel like I need a dairy farm in my backyard at the minute.
Yeah, my the sorry, brain fart. I just I just had such a like strong visual of you like in your bedroom and there's like a cow poking its head through the window, and then I couldn't like lead into the next part of what I was gonna what I was was
Yeah, Daisy's just out the back.
yeah, you like painted it such a good picture. I was like, I can see that. And then I thought I was supposed to be talking. Um, anyway, I once recorded how much food that I ate on a training camp, and rowing's obviously like a lot more miles. You guys are short, sharp power outputs, which they're both very difficult in their own ways. So I went on a training camp with the national team a few years ago to Portugal, and I recorded like in my TikTok era, recorded all these videos to send back to the kids that I was coaching at the time of how much food I was eating. So we had first breakfast, porridge, nut butters, honey, whatever, first session. Then we had second breakfast, which was like pancakes, fruit, nut butters, yogurt, like bacon, something. There'd be loads of stuff in there. Then you'd like take a little snack to have for second session, as well as a protein shake. Then you'd have lunch after second session, take a bit of cake to walk up the hill with me, have a little snack before third session, and then have dinner. And I like recorded all of this and I put it into a little video, and I was like, Jesus, that is a lot of food. But sent it to the kids, and the kids were like, that is ridiculous. And also, we don't do 3 sessions a day, so we wouldn't need that much food. And my sort of point for a younger audience or somebody who is working a job alongside training is if you've got a social element or school or a 9 till 5 and training, you're still basically doing those 3 sessions. Like your body's still using energy, like you still need to fuel efficiently. One, just for brain power. Like as you're saying, if you're hungry, I get emotional when I'm hungry. I think you sort of touched on it as well in the
A
gym.
little bit.
Just give me a biscuit. And, definitely at school, like school is a bit of a minefield, or college or university. Like there's so many other different plates that you're spinning at one time. If you're restricting your fueling, you're basically scoring an own goal because there's no need. Just feed yourselves. Just feed yourselves, please.
It's so hard as well because, like I mentioned earlier, like that body type you see in the media is usually very skinny, very slight.
The breadstick.
That's yep. And there's been a lot of like fads and ways that people go about talking about like how they've got their body into the position that it is and stuff like that. And a lot of that is, oh, I cut out carbs, which
Oh,
is obviously the antichrist of athletes. Which is really tricky because I understand as well, like body image is huge. And like we mentioned, we're in Lycra, so there's not much like everything's kind of on display. Um, and having that like I'm not a small girl. I mean, I'm not the tallest, which I figured out when I was at Henley.
I mean, I was gonna
I
say
am nowhere near that.
I am a tall girl.
But like I've always had big quads. Like as a kid, I had big quads. Like, and so that's because that's what makes me good at my sport. And so to have that body type and like I have to fuel for that body type and I have to build it and sculpt it the way I need to do that. But it's also really tricky because I found much later in life that I had almost like a realization of like body image and stuff. And for me, it was never like I'd never felt the need to be like super skinny and stuff, but like I wanted to be a lot leaner. And to do that, like the conversations were very similar, like, oh, well, if you cut out carbs and this, that, and the other, but you then sacrifice in performance and you forget that your body's there to make you great at what you do. And it shouldn't be the other way around, almost of like, well, I want to look the way I do, and then I want to go really fast as well. Like it kind of doesn't work like that. There is a way to kind of do that in a really positive way, which isn't always just cutting things out and not eating properly. It's just making sure you're eating the right things and working with a nutritionist if you can. And like, obviously, sugar's great for us at certain times, but like it's how you utilize that instead of it being like, oh, I'm going to get home and eat like 12 slices of cake. Unless you need it. Don't get me wrong, if you need it, that's that. But I think that conversation as well, like being muscly is great. I think some of the most amazing looking women in the world are so strong and so powerful. But that gets lost, especially at like that age of like you're in high school and what you see in the media. Because I feel like there's one specific body type that women have kind of like put in front of them and like that's kind of celebrated. But I don't feel like that's maybe I'm wrong, but it's not quite the same with men. Obviously they have their own struggles in different ways, in terms of like pressures and like how they look, and sometimes it's kind of flipped the other way. If they're too skinny, it's not seen as desirable, which is very strange how it's almost opposite. um but I think it's like so important, very similar to what we spoke about earlier, to have those like female role models that are visible and in front of people and that gets celebrated. I mean, just look at what Ilona Ma's done, the rugby player who's
Yeah.
been like everywhere, like the waves that she's created by having those conversations and kind of like championing her own femininity and how she feels and what she thinks she looks like.
And her red lipstick on
Yeah,
the
making a statement. I love that. I'd love to bring it into cycling, but I fear it would just be all over my face by the end of the day. But like I think that visibility is important. I think that's why growing up didn't have any of as much as those kind of like problems, because as I mentioned earlier, like I had those female role models in front of me. I saw the body type, I saw the amazing thing that they were doing and the people that they were as well. It wasn't just like a sticker on a wall, like they were amazing people. Yeah. I think that's just really important. I think it's something that is changing for the better. Like you can see it's changing for the better. But I also think that's why we still don't have a massive uptake in women in track sprint at a young age. Like a lot of our team are talent transfer. And I don't think there's a
From
massive,
other sports.
yeah, I don't think it's a coincidence. Like growing up, and there's a reason as well, like a lot of young riders want to go to the endurance side because there's a lot more money in the endurance side, and they want to do the Tour de France, and youth racing is mainly endurance prominent, and it's almost like you kind of get pulled to the dark side if you've got that like sprint ability. But you also don't see a load of young girls, because it's roughly around the age of like 13 to 16, going, I want to be a track sprinter, unless they're already naturally quite strong and built, because the kind of ideal body type kind of goes to the other direction, like a
Mm.
lot slighter, a lot thinner. And I don't know if that is definitely the case, but I don't think it's also unrelated.
Yeah. Well, we actually, when we were at Henley, we actually met a uh, her name's Lily. Hopefully, she won't mind me mentioning her. But she actually came up to you, and she is, I guess, a talent transfer. So she's finished rowing, and she is now going into cycling. I can't remember which version of cycling she says she was going into.
She's been doing a bit of the endurance side. She did a bit of the road and a bit of the track,
Yeah,
which is exciting,
you'll
bringing
have
people over
to.
to cycling.
Yeah, you'll have to like get her over into the track cycling and be like, "Don't worry about the endurance stuff.
Come sprint.
Right, come
Come to
to."
the dark side.
But yeah, the body image stuff is it is such a minefield, but like just briefly touching on it again, like from a personal experience, I worked so hard to like build up a lot of muscle, and you didn't meet me as an athlete, but you've met me in my beanpole breadstick phase, which is more like my natural state, like genetics wise. But I stopped competing about 2 years ago, and in the space of sort of 2 years, like all of that muscle that I spent 10 to 12 years building has gone, due to like my autoimmune condition, which is rheumatoid arthritis, and I'm less sort of able to do as much. But it's been really weird because in a way I've become more like socially normal, if you like, but I really mourn and miss like the muscle and the shape that I was. Like I felt so much more confident and so much more like sexy and out there with like my massive quads and like my like nothing that I bought online fit me properly, but like
Yeah, that is the bane of my existence at the
y-
minute.
yeah, everything. I just felt so much better in everything, and now I buy stuff and online, and it normally it does fit. I mean, I still have ankle bashes, like nothing reaches the
When you're
floor.
that tall, though, that is difficult.
Exactly, nothing reaches the floor as it should. But I really like miss all of that, like the muscle, the like biceps, like back muscles, like legs, like all. I miss all of that so much, and it's so funny because like when you're in it, it's sometimes difficult to realize like how amazing and special and beautiful your bodies are. But if you stop and that changes, like it's really different. And
Mm.
I would trade it in a heartbeat.
I did a radio show
This podcast.
with BBC Radio 5 Live, and they're doing it was called Names Will Be Made, and it was almost like a precursor to the summer of sport that's going on, especially like there's a lot of women's sport that's going to be amazing this summer. And a woman there called Maggie Alfonsi, she used to play rugby for England. Very strong, very powerful person, still looks very strong, very powerful, even though she's retired.
Mm,
And we were talking about body image on the show, and then afterwards we went and had a chat, and she was talking. I was making a bit of a thing about like I got big powerful thighs, and that's a good thing, not a negative thing. And she came and spoke to me after. She's like, I love that, this, that, and the other. And she's like, I, since retiring, have tried to keep my big, strong quads, as we were talking about. Because it's powerful. When I walk into a room and I look strong, I feel strong, and it's imposing. So then people in that room take notice of me, and like I have a voice in that room that's very strong and powerful. It's almost like your body is like encompassing the persona that you're trying to put across, which is huge. Like that's like I thought that was I just loved that. Like having
Yeah,
that, it's almost your inner self personified in what your body's doing, which is really, really exciting. And I think I didn't think about it until after that point. I was speaking to my sister and she's like, yeah, when you walk into a room, sometimes it's really intimidating. I was like, is that a
yeah,
bad thing? And she was like, no, you're just very strong, and you have a presence when you walk into the room. And whether that isn't a personal thing, or whether that is because I am big and I'm strong, and on track cycling is a kind of like an ego thing, and you have to walk into a room like you mean it when you're cycling, like it kind of like leaks out into the rest of the world, and that is a good thing. Sometimes you do need to walk into a room and own that space and have your head up tall and take that confidence and that power with you. So
absolutely. I used to coach a girl. I don't think I've used any of their names, so I won't use her name, but she will know it's about her. And the feedback that I always used to give her, mainly we did a lot of work around her ribs and stuff, but the feedback that I always used to give her, and I wrote it in a card for her specifically when I left, was make sure you take up space. Do not be afraid to take up space when you're in a room. And she used to start every sentence like, Sophia, shall I do this? And I was like, cut the walk into a room, take up space, lead it. Don't be afraid to lead it and be sort of in charge. Um, and just looking at my notes because I know that we just talk.
this could go on for hours.
We have real yappers. Um, with with all of those lovely conversations in mind about body positivity and image and all of that stuff, while we're on a high, favorite sporting moment so far?
I feel like this is really cliche, and obviously everyone kind of knows what I'm going to say, but it was the Olympics. Oh my god! Yeah, winning the Olympics in the team sprint, like hands down, best day ever. It was so weird in the sense of like it was like the day was happening before we were conscious of what was happening at the time. We turned up for the qualifying, and teams before us broke the world record, and we were one of the last to go in qualifying. We weren't the last. And we were sat in the chairs in the pen, and we can hear the guy and the announcer going, "New world record," and we're like, "Oh my god!" And we go up and we break the world record, and it's like, what just kind of happened? And then we qualified first, and we were like, "Oh, okay, like we're kind of in this." And it wasn't a surprise in the sense of like we'd won a couple World Cups before we got to the Olympics. And we knew it was a possibility, but you can never, like, Germans were the favourites, and you can never count out China. And then there's also always a wild card of like someone turns up and just blows like expectations out the water, which was the Kiwis. So we're like, okay, we've qualified fastest. We've got 2 more rides to go, kind of thing. And then the next round, we're sat in the chairs before we go, and we hear on the speaker again, "New world record," twice. 2 teams have just re-broken the world record, and you kind of just got to sit there and ignore it, but you can't. And then we broke the world record again, and it's like, oh, okay, we're in the gold final.
Like
We've got a
another
medal.
one.
Another one, like DJ Khaled.
Another one.
And then we were in the final with the Kiwis, and I don't even remember that ride. Like, I don't remember. I remember sat in the chairs beforehand, and then that's kind of it until afterwards, and we were celebrating. Like, there's like this thing, obviously, that you talk about flow states, and it's not necessarily the most common in track cycling because there's a lot of thinking that you have to do in terms of tactics sometimes, or processes that you do. And I just remember, like, it's almost like I opened my eyes and we'd won. It was so bizarre and so surreal. And yeah, that was absolutely amazing. Like, most of the crowd were British because we were the first medal for track cycling that week, and it was the first day, and there wasn't a French women's team sprint. So a lot of the British people have managed to like snag all the tickets. So like you
Oh,
looked around and there was just Union Jacks everywhere. The crowd was so loud. It was like unbelievable. It was an atmosphere that I don't think we're ever going to get ever again. It was the closest thing we're going to get to a home Olympics. Like unbelievable. Like I melted after that though. I looked up into the stands because I lost my dad in 2021. And I looked up into the stands like, oh, he should have been there, and I just like melted, and everyone was like celebrating. And there's a video, and it's awful. I can't watch it, but like everyone's like jumping around, and I'm like head in my hands, like sobbing my eyes out.
you're like,
But yeah,
I'm just gonna ugly cry for like 10 minutes.
well, I have a plan. Sometimes at races, because my dad was so involved in cycling, I it gets quite overwhelming. Usually when we do well. So I
Mm,
had a plan to beeline it to the physio, who we'd like kind of spoken about this, so that the coach could go celebrate with the girls, and I was going to beeline it to the physio who was there, just to have like. Sometimes I just need like 30 seconds just to like cry, and then I'm fine again.
mm.
And as I beelined it to the physio, so did the girls, and they were jumping up and down, and I'm like, oh no, what do we do? So there's a video of that. It looks like I'm miserable, but I'm fine. I just needed a second. But yeah, unbelievable.
That's so special as well. And like there are so many emotions like pent up when you're racing because you've got such tunnel vision. Like it can come like things can come out at any point, especially once the race is over. You're just like so many different things can hit you. So it's it's actually a good athlete tip to have a plan if you know that that's something you.
Oh gosh, yeah. At Commonwealth Games, that was the year after I'd lost dad, and we spoke about the Commonwealth Games, and it was a home Commonwealth Games. And the national anthem for England, this is really intricate. I don't know why I'm telling this, but the national anthem for England, Jerusalem, was played at my dad's funeral. So I was like, we need a plan. We need a safety plan because this is going to be absolute carnage. I found a little spot in a corridor, which was like my crying hole.
Oh, but there's so much that is like so special about it. Like in the lead up to it, you're like, this is all going to be like so triggering for me. And then now that it's done, you're like, well, this was all a sign that it was going to go right. But at the time,
Yeah.
so overwhelming. And
Mm.
but actually, like it sounds like it was meant to be, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Everything.
Special.
Hold this with a bit of an asterisk, but everything happens for a reason.
Yeah,
Still have a bit of a debate about it sometimes in my head, but like for the most part.
100%. There's lots of things that I would like to question with a what the fuck, but there's supposed to be a reason to most of it. I'm not sure sometimes, but could you tell me a little bit about your best fuck up if you have one?
Yeah. Um, I'm quite good at bike handling. I will own that. I'm quite good at it. However, what might seem to contradict that is I've had a couple of occasions where I've had a crash on the track, which isn't uncommon. But it's kind of happened without anyone else around or anyone else causing it. One of them I just slipped, and I'll take full ownership of that. But one of them was we were at European Championships, but it was on a 200-meter pop-up track, which means it's like a temporary track. And it's normally 250 meters a track we race on. So it was smaller, which means a little bit more. The bends are a bit sharper, and it was temporary. So the wood was actually stacked up the track as opposed to like around in a circle. And we were in the team sprint, and we were coming into my lap. So the first person peeled off in front of me. And as we came out the bend, my bike just completely lost traction. I high-sided off the bike, but we're also strapped into the bike. So I've gone up and my bike hasn't come with me. And I'm on the floor, and my teammate Emma behind me crashes into the back of me. And then we're on the deck. Crashes in team sprint don't happen that often. Like it's a very controllable race. So that was probably the biggest fuck up. She had concussion off the back of it, and I tore through 80% of my rec fem tendon in my hip. So for us, that was a great year, especially going into the next year was Olympic qualification. Had to go into rehab, but I didn't know that I'd done it. I'd had a crash previous. Sounds like a terrible year, but like I'd had a crash earlier in the year where we were doing a warm up, and one of the girls, there was a miscommunication, and she peeled out of the line, but I didn't think she was. So I was actually next to her. So she just kind of swiped me and I just hit the deck. And I had a bit of a bone bruise. So it kind of felt like that. And I've had like hip impingement before. So like I also think I have quite high pain tolerance. So I just pushed through it. And I went for a PB squat of 170. And I had a big clunk and at the bottom. So I just decided, no, we're not going to try it. Like, I'm bailing. I was like, oh, it's still a bit odd. Did the world championships with it. Didn't know I had the tear that was going on. Took time off, came back, and I was like, it's still sore. Ended up having an MRI. I got a phone call at 8 o'clock from the doctor that night, and I was like, the doctor's calling me at 8 o'clock at night. This is really bad. Then he was like, you need to stop everything. I was supposed to be going away to a race. He was like, you can't go away and race. You've got to take more time off. We've got to go into rehab, this, that, and the other. And I just like was like, oh my God, like from a stupid slip on a track that I still have no idea what caused it.
Track's
We're
fault.
blaming the track.
You're blaming the track.
I was like, Olympic qualifications next year. I've had trials and tribulations in terms of like selections before. So I'm like, well, if I'm not in the team now, I'm never going to be in the team. Obviously, your mind's playing tricks on you a little bit.
Yeah.
And like, it was just like, what do I do? Like, we had an amazing sports rehab therapist called Hannah at the time who, like, with that sort of thing, you can't just stop and wait for it to get fixed. Like, surgery was an option, but I didn't really want surgery. It was almost like, that's the last chance, like, worst case scenario. So then we basically had to rebuild a tendon, which means a lot of collagen and a lot of like training, but you have to work the tendon, so it's going to obviously hurt because it's torn,
Mm,
but you don't want to go too far that it tears again. So it's like we had to sit in this line of figuring out what good pain and bad pain was, and like hold this line of
good
too
pain.
much, not too much, doing the right thing, not doing the right thing, pain, no pain. So it was one of the hardest like time periods in my life, because obviously there's a lot of anxiety around that as well, of like, is this the right kind of pain? Am I doing more harm than good? But yeah, it had an amazing team. Actually ended up getting back in the team faster than we anticipated. By the end of my rehab, I was racing at the European Championships, whereas the end of the rehab was supposed to be back to normal training. Like, that's how well it had gone. So I just feel really lucky with that. But yeah, that was probably the biggest fuck up that I've had.
That's a good one. And also it's like taking the time to have that confidence to do the prehab rehab. We're gonna rattle through this bit to make sure you get on time. Okay, final few questions. How are you spending your days off?
So, depends on the day and how tired I am. Um, I love the outdoors, which is funny because we cycle in basically a shed all the time, which is probably why I love the outdoors as much as I do. So I love taking pictures. I love photography. So sometimes in my time off, I'll go. We live not that far from the Peak District, and like the Lake District's like an hour and a half. So some of the most beautiful places ever. In an ideal world, I'd love to be able to go and hike and go and take pictures, but hiking is tiring. And when on my rest days, sometimes I need my feet up. So sometimes there's a mountain near us, well, mountain hill, not really sure, it's called Mamtor, and there's amazing sunsets there. So sometimes I go, and you can drive quite far up it, which is kind of cheating, but then I walk up the rest of it and go and sit and watch a sunset or something like that. So I love doing stuff like that. I do enjoy hiking, as I said, but like, don't get to do it that often. Other than
Yeah,
that,
the rest of it.
frequenting coffee shops
Oh, oh.
is a massive thing. I'm a big foodie, so we like going out for dinner. I'm also doing a maths degree, which is a little bit rogue. Yeah.
You kept
I'm
that one
currently on a leave of
quiet.
absence, and I'm returning. Yeah. I'm on a leave of absence this year, and I'm returning in October, which I'm quite nervous about because it's my equivalent final year. And I've obviously had time off, and my brain has not been functioning in the same way. But I love problem solving. I love that side of things. Yeah, they're my hobbies. Oh, I also love watching sport. So, like, anytime that's on, TV's on, or if I can go, that's even better. So obviously Henley was great.
What is your best piece of advice or a phrase that sort of changed the game for you?
Trust your gut. Simple as that. I have gone through a few experiences in my career where my gut's telling me something, and I believe no one knows you better than yourself. And I believed certain things, and I never spoke up about it or didn't go with enough conviction. And things then unfold, and hindsight's a wonderful thing. And you look back and go, if I just trusted my gut, things would have ended differently. And I think it's really easy to get lost. And a little bit of what we spoke to earlier about like owning that space that you walk into a room with and turning up with confidence. Like no one knows you better than yourself. This isn't me saying go to your coach and be like, I'm right, I this, that, and the other, I know what I'm talking about. But like if you do feel something and you do have a strong belief on something or have a gut feeling, I think it's always worth having that conversation and like trying to put that out there, because you obviously don't want to regret not doing that. And as I say, like no one knows you better than yourself, and I think that's really important. I think it can be so helpful. Like it's easy for me to say now. Like I've been on living in Manchester 8 years, and like I obviously do know what I'm talking about now. Whereas like a few years ago, there was still a question of like, is my coach right? Are they like the messiah and know everything? And like I just have to say yes, which is obviously not true. But there's always that little voice in your head that's going, "Oh, should you? Shouldn't you?" But I think always have that conversation. Like always try and trust your gut, because yeah, you know more than what you think.
A good coach though will listen. A good coach
Yeah.
will listen and they will be open to any sort of communication that you have or any questions that you have. They will have this approach of there's no such thing as a stupid question. Apart
Yeah.
from I was asked once if I had a tissue for someone to blow their nose as a coach, and I did, but that is on the verge of a stupid question because I don't think providing tissues for snotty noses counts as part of my job role as a coach. But I did have one, so it was okay. Um,
Yeah. We had one that was there's no such thing as a stupid question except for the one I just answered. Because there were a few instances where multiple people just asked the same question because they weren't listening to what the person before them was asking.
very good. That is a fair point. That is a constant coaching struggle, people not listening to the information that's been delivered. What are we listening to in the gym? This is our last bit, and then I know you've got a meeting to get to.
Busy. It varies depending on who's in the gym. So yeah, you can tell who got in first with what music's kind of on. For me, at the minute, it's kind of anything upbeat. Like I've got quite an eclectic taste in music, which I feel like is quite a common answer. But something uplifting. Obviously, we're going for big lifts a lot of the time, so it needs to kind of have a little bit of power behind it, or something's like that'll get you kind of going. Fred again is kind of a big feature on a lot of playlists, as well as like at the minute the squad seems to be into a bit of like rock, kind of bit more intense,
Was it
which is
AC/DC Thunder? That's a big one at the moment.
it's a bit Marmite. Some people love it, some people don't. But
Fair enough.
yeah, anything that's kind of like that. But then obviously music for us with racing is quite big as well, because obviously we're in a building that has music playing, but also we're warming up on like our rollers and stuff with our headphones on. I used to listen to Pump It by the Black Eyed Peas right before I'd do a race when I was younger, because it was something to do with the cadence, and like it was about going fast and it was a bit intense and a bit upbeat. So maybe I need to bring that one back. But currently Fred again. I think that's a safe answer.
You can't go wrong with the Black Eyed Peas. I think that's such an iconic answer, the Pump It one. Well, we have 1 minute to spare before your meeting. Thank you so much for re-recording this with me. It's been so
Nailed
fun,
it.
and I'll be WhatsApping you and lurking on your Instagram, and I'm so excited to get on with all your racing and stuff that you got coming up.
Thank you very much.
I'll see you soon.